Ladies and gentlemen, the first item on the agenda is our welcome remarks from our Chancellor. As you know, he is based in Washington, D.C., but he was a very, very, very important and integral part of the negotiations linking us to this opportunity, which began several years ago. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you our Chancellor and Chairman of the University of Guyana's Council, Professor Edward Greene, remotely from Washington.
That we are here today launching this virtual augmented and immersive education platform is due in no small measure to the daring and visionary leadership of Vice-Chancellor Professor Paloma Mohamed Martin. She navigated this process against the headwinds of strong skepticism, engaged in massive persuasive efforts with staff, and advocated for UG to seize the opportunity now. On behalf of the members of Council, I offer the Vice-Chancellor and her supporting cast highest commendations. I also speak with pride on behalf of the University of Guyana Foundation for introducing Eon Reality to the Vice-Chancellor and her team. This introduction actually came through the late Miss Paula Mohamed Benjamin, who enthusiastically brought the Eon Reality Initiative to the attention of the inaugural meeting of the University of Guyana Foundation Caribbean Associates in October 2022. Since then, and up to the time of her passing in April 2024, she continuously promoted the value of this venture and provided invaluable support for the Vice-Chancellor during the negotiating process with EON. I am glad that the persuasiveness of her advocacy is recorded in the report of the University of Guyana Foundation Caribbean Associates meeting of March 14, 2024. And I am continuously aware that her spirit hovers over this event today with gleeful remembrances. Paula, we recognize your contribution. This event is indeed the unfolding of the essence of your legacy to the University of Guyana. Needless to say, I am very enthusiastic about this particular project and the prospects that it has become a reality. In this respect, with her usual undaunted and indomitable will, the Vice-Chancellor sourced the matching funds to EON's generous grant and technical support to make this happen. This collaboration with EON and UG is also to be recognized and commended. I believe that the mission of Alpha is to steer UG toward a sustainable future in the application of technologies as a driver in fostering interdisciplinary innovation on behalf of all. By integrating AI across all disciplines, as I understand the vision, UG is taking a multifaceted approach to the common global design identified in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, including but not limited to the environment, economy, education, healthcare, and society. I see this venture as path-breaking. It will cultivate students' problem-solving skills. It will create a mindset in tackling important national and global challenges. It will provide insights in collecting and using big data and making a tangible contribution to our cultural heritage. I believe that the immediate outcomes from this initiative, for example, are to use AI technology to improve research and development to advance the value of natural products, including new drug pipelines that will increase treatment, for example, of NCDs, including breast cancer and prostate cancer, so prevalent in Guyana. Indeed, a release from the G Summit meeting on health in Brazil, which ended yesterday, reinforces the role of AI in tackling the social determinants of health, the reduction of health inequalities, as we witness during during COVID and forestalling the deleterious impact of the next epidemic. My enthusiasm, however, is not blind, nor should yours. It must be accompanied by an awareness that even some of the pioneers, like Mustafa Suleiman at Google, are having second thoughts about the pros and cons of AI. In his book, The Coming Wave of AI Power and Its 21st Century Dilemma, he admits to fearing that his intervention will spawn terrorism and superviruses within years. And he wonders and asks the question, I quote, "What on earth have I unleashed?" Yet, without venturing into the area of AI as part of the Industrial Revolution, I mean the third Industrial Revolution, we will be left behind. Hopefully, the pedagogy of our endeavors, as it has been for all other scientific evolutions and revolutions, would underscore pursuing and applying AI for the good of mankind. In the meantime, let us at UG celebrate this landmark event. Let our scientists, engineers, linguists, and even cultural practitioners embrace the opportunity to be part of this multifaceted, multidisciplinary, and transformative enterprise. Let us give thanks that this pioneering day at the University of Guyana has come. Blessings to you all.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. The next speaker is, I think, all the way in Singapore, Dan Lejerska. I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly, but I need to say a little bit about Dan and Ian XR Reality. This is the company that we partnered with just about 8-9 months ago. We had been negotiating with them for about 2 years, and the Chancellor would have talked about Dr. Paula Mohamed Benjamin, who happened to be the wife of the current head of Department of Law, Ken Benjamin, who may be here or online, because we wanted to, yes, Professor Benjamin is here. And thank you, Professor, for lending us Paula and her beautiful spirit. And she worked not only over the last 3 years, but it was a 10-year endeavor, because she tried to institute it, get this technology into Guyana many years before, when she was working for the UN, and it didn't fly. And then she retired and joined the University of Guyana's Foundation Caribbean Associates, as Chancellor said, and proceeded to reintroduce this technology to those of us who are here now, or to the company. We've had tremendous problems with getting everything sorted out. Many of them had to do with funding and legal issues to deal with technology, etc. And then just understanding the technology. And I really want to say a very big special thank you to Paula in spirit, and to Benji, Professor Benjamin, and family for this moment, because had it not been for her and the work that she did on this last December, we may not have made it past the particular hurdle that we had. And it is very interesting that on the morning we did the first demo, that's the day that she died. And so we never were able to show her in person that we did it. But we do believe that we are creating an innovation lab on the campus, a physical space where these kinds of things could be developed in, not in secret, but certainly without, in private, so that the innovators and so on can get a chance to do their work. And we will name it after Paula. Hopefully in the next 6 months we will see that. Dan is another remarkable human being, because Dan was right there in Paula. This is a huge company that has assets in many, maybe over 100 countries in the world. And the technology is not only AI driven, it is driven by many other things. He will tell you about it, but Dan was in there helping us as well, because he believed that it would be a very important moment for Guyana. We're the first in the Caribbean to be able to use this in this way. Sandals University, that's the university in St. Lucia, has rolled out a version of this before, and I want to really also thank Luz Lonsworth, who is there for also helping us to understand some of the legal aspects of this that we were concerned about. Exxon EonXR, which powers our system, granted the grant. It's not a financial grant, so just want to make sure UG did not receive money, but what we received were assets, technical experience, the applications, and so on. The grant was $4 million US, not to be scoffed at. But the university had to find 0.75%, less than 1% of that, to invest and to show that we were serious about it. And while that's a tiny amount of money for most people in the world, we've struggled to find it. And we also had to find it in foreign exchange, hard currency, because the company is out of Guyana. So that was a big thing. So I want to thank all those who helped us to find that money to raise it. And so while this is a big endeavor on the part of the university in terms of what we're going to be able to deliver, we're still looking at it as a commercial possibility, because we do have to get back our 300,000 US that we had to invest and others. So, but here to represent and to give some brief remarks on behalf of EonXR, to whom we're very grateful this morning, is Dan from, I think, virtually from Singapore. Could you please play him, please?
Hi, I'm Dan Lejerska, and it's a great honor to speak to you today about the launch of Alpha, the University of Guyana's new immersive XR learning platform, powered by Eon Reality. At Eon Reality, we believe in the power of combining knowledge and technology. Today, we are taking a big step forward with Alpha. This platform goes beyond traditional learning, using extended reality to create amazing educational experiences. Imagine medical students practicing virtual surgeries, engineering students interacting with complex structures, and history students exploring ancient civilization, all in their classroom. Now, there are many benefits of this new program. Alpha, we will share a few of those. One of them is real-world skill applications. You can practice hands-on in virtual environments that mirror real-life settings. You can engage and interact in learning by providing immersive simulation and scenarios that increase student engagement. Also, enhanced learning outcomes. We know students learn faster, retain information longer, and make ultimately better decisions using this technology. Now, accessibility is very important. So this platform will be available multilingual, 24/7, on any type of device, from your phone to your tablet to your laptop, and even head-mounted displays. Global collaboration is a key part of this program. We have currently from EON partnership in more than 83 countries, which will be available for Alpha. And that comes also with the world's largest library with more than 36 million 3D assets in experiential learning. Last but not least, I want to highlight AI. We know AI is coming and will disrupt most likely 50 to 60% of the jobs in the coming years. Here, Alpha can play an important role. How? By enabling you with the latest AI agent technology to upgrade and create new courses streamlined on the go using this AI agent capabilities. This reduces drastically the development time and keeps the courses up to date. Now, University of Guyana has always been a leader in innovation, and with Alpha, it continues to set new standards in education. This platform would not only improve learning, but also prepare students for the future. It will give them skills and knowledge to succeed. Now, I want to thank the University of Guyana's leadership, particularly Vice-Chancellor Paloma Martin. Also want to thank the team at EON Reality and all the partners that made this project possible. Your hard work and dedication have brought Alpha to life. Now, as we begin this exciting journey, let's remember that Alpha represents our commitment to empowering the next generation of thinkers and leaders. Together, we are creating a brighter future where education has no limits. Thank you for being a part of this important moment. Here's to the future of endless learning and possibilities with Alpha. And as a PS note, I'll be in Latin America in the middle of this month and look forward to visit and meet you personally, face to face. Thank you and all the best.
From me that you will hear, I need to explain what this is and why we named it Alpha. Because unfortunately, people have the particular sense of the alpha male, and that is they think that that is the origin of Alpha. So when we sent out this invitation, somebody very senior in the Ministry of Education came back and said, but why did you all name it Alpha? They have all these Mills and Boone type things online with these males behaving in a particular way. So I said, well, this gives us a very excellent opportunity, a teaching moment, to give the history of the word Alpha and to let people understand that it really is not, it's not the popular usage of it is not really the origin and all the uses. So Alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet. So our A, our common A that we know, it was actually derived from that alpha. And itself, it means, and it's not originally Greek, but they borrowed it from the Phoenicians, and it means the beginning. That's really, so you've heard the word Alpha and Omega in the Bible and other texts, the beginning and end, in physics and so on. First, in software development, the Alpha is the kind of trial test that is done first before anybody sees it. It also in astrology and astronomy signifies the first and brightest star. So the alpha star in a constellation is the brightest and first star that you see. And now to the last one that everybody knows, dominance, right? And alpha can be, if you're using it in terms of behavioral science, it could mean a dominant male, a dominant female, or a dominant any person, how they signify themselves nowadays, with any number of the, any kind of gender context, or a dominant institution. So hopefully those who are worrying about the gender, any kind of gender-laden context of the name Alpha can now understand that it means the first the brightest, the groundbreaking, and the dominant, which is what I will speak about now a little bit. So as you would have been hearing, UG has been speaking about this platform for about 4 or 5 months now. At our career fair, I was spoken about it. At some other events, I would have spoken about it. In the context that UG is not technologically bashful at all. We're actually emerging as technologically very advanced and dominant in the region, because we are leapfrogging over what other people consider to be the traditional chalk and talk into the future that is upon us already. So we cannot be afraid of these kinds of technologies and these capabilities. What we have to strive to do is to grasp them, understand them, and bend them to our will and our needs. And this is exactly what Alpha is going to do. So the first thing is that I'd like to highlight some of its features, but for the major presentation, I'd like to really thank, and I will hand over at some point very soon, to the very, very young team. And you'll see them, they haven't lost their mother's features yet. Very, very young and handsome team, or their father's features, I don't know, that helped to develop this, have explored this. And of course, the other side of the team, on the academic side. So might I recognize Dr. Charmin Bissessar? Could you stand? This is not the one I said about the mother's features, right? Dr. Bissessar. And then these two, Shomari Williams and Tyreke. You see, look at them. But this is the future of the world. They understand the technology, and they're the ones who will be taking you through the explanation. And Mr. Sekar Malampati, who's the Director of SASATA, our software development department in our Tactical Online Services unit, is on leave, but he also has been working on it. But Tyreke and Shomari and their teams have been working on this. So what does this technology allow us to do? They will show you. But a couple of things we need to understand about it. Dan would have said to you that it is agnostic. So many people, one of the big barriers to delivering online education is that most people have to get internet to do it. This one, you could do it online, but you could do it offline as well. So it could be downloaded onto any device anywhere, and you can still work with it in a similar fashion. So this is one of the very good things, because as you know, we have campuses across the country, both for IDC and UG, and we'll be opening a campus soon in Region 9 as satellite, and so this technology is going to be very, very fundamental. But not only for teaching, it has applications for the military, paramilitary, right, and others, and we've invited some of them if they're here this morning. Thank you for being here. If you're online, thank you. The speed at which you could develop immersive courses is one of the big things. Normally it would take us, to animate and create an immersive environment, maybe 6 to 8, 10 months to do one course. These gentlemen can do it much faster than that with the technology and their expertise and some of the in-house capacity that we have built. Maybe a month or two, right? Or probably faster, depending. It also allows us to do a very important thing, and this one I want to talk about. Because when we do assessments at university level or any level, we usually throw an examination, the same exam, at a whole class, let us say of 40 people. And then you have, some will get an A, so they're at the top of the class, some will get B, some will get C, some will get D, and some will unfortunately fail. And what we do most of the time is we move this entire class of people, irregardless of their grade, to the next topic. And what that does is that it moves people who may not have mastered some very important technical skills or knowledge or both onto the next level. and then they go to the next level. And some people, we wonder, how do they graduate with an A or a B and still they don't know certain things? This technology, because of the way in which we are deploying it, allows us to basically do individualistic testing in a certain sense, because you can set the parameter just like a game. It's like a gaming paradigm. Maybe that's not the word, y'all would use the right word, but then I'm using paradigm. So you could set the parameter to say 90%, and unless a student reaches 90%, they cannot go on to the next level. So some students can move very fast, and some will have to do it over and over and over until they get to this level. But more importantly, it can give and does give individualized reports as to why you didn't reach that level for every single student so that they can improve. Now, this is a really wonderful capacity, because what it does, it can free the teacher up or the lecturer up to really do other things and work in other ways, in more focused ways with students, to make sure that we have a better learning outcome, stress of grading, because this is a big thing for people who have to grade. The stress of having to grade is something that is very powerful among anybody who's teaching at any level. So this should help to do this. Now, we can't deploy it for everything and all the time. So we do have to have an ability to see which parts of it we deploy in a virtual way and which parts we deploy in a face-to-face way. So for instance, one of the ways in which we want to deploy this are for certificate programs in things that have practicum requirements. So one of the demos you're going to see this morning is for plumbing. So one of the first things you need to be able to do if you're going to learn to be a plumber is to identify the different fittings and parts and so on. If we have to train 1,000 plumbers in a physical lab, the cost of that is going to be really tremendous. And if they're all over the country, and if they're not people who like to sit in a classroom or something, that's going to be a problem. So for something that is set up like a game, to learn these parts and so on with an evaluation at the end, you can see that applying very easily, takes the pressure off the physical plant, allows you to train more people faster in very different ways, and engages them in a way that they understand and like. However, when you've finished all of that, showing them what has to buckle up to wear and so on, you have to still know that when they go into the real world, they can still do this in a way that is going to apply to reality. So you will still have to find a way to test them at the end in a real world scenario. But it takes the pressure off the front end and other places. And there, I'm sure we are going to together, and all of you singularly, will find other ways to innovate around this. There are also other skills that can be tested. So interpersonal skills, what's happening, emotional intelligence and teamwork is now much more important in working scenarios, than even the technical skills. These are things that employers value greatly. And so there are modules and there are ways that you can do all of that. So I want to make a very important point here, though. And because we are very concerned when we were discussing this internally, that those who are not familiar with teaching and andragogy and pedagogy do not believe that these systems can replace human teachers and human lecturers. That's not what it's intended to do. It is intended to augment what they are doing, to take some of the repetitive tasks and onerous tasks away, to free them to do more innovative, hands-on things. These systems cannot and should not be expected to be deployed at countrywide levels to replace people who teach and people who lecture. That is going to be a very dangerous consideration if we are thinking about that. So that's not what this is about. And when you see it being deployed this morning, you will see where some of the limitations lie. So it is really, we talk about A and I. AI and the human being, A and I, the individual, right? So the combination there. Of course, the cost of doing things, if you're doing them at scale, if you're doing one or two like we're doing now to experiment, it's going to cost. But once you're able to roll these things out at scale, the cost of delivery to a single student could very well be far, far lower than we see now. So we will be able to do that. You heard Dan say, and this is something that's becoming very important for Guyana, because we have now become such a multilingual and a multicultural country. Sometimes you wonder, how many English-speaking Guyanese are here, depending on which part of the country you are. You have people speaking everything from Mandarin to Portuguese to Spanish to all kinds of other, Italian, all kinds of languages, right? This platform is multilingual in several languages, including some things like Russian and all those kinds of things that we don't teach at UG, right? So the possibility, therefore, of reaching diverse audiences with the same material is also very, 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 very something that we are looking at very carefully for deploying for students who are not typical of what we used to teach in the past. Because of the way in which the world is developing, unfortunately, we saw what COVID did, and it was a major disruptor to everything, not only education, but also the format and thinking about education. But it also has disrupted the way in which the learner, the power relationships between the learner and the provider. And so what the university has been really focused on in the last few years, even before this we started it, but we accelerated it and focused it during the COVID period, was really what is the best way for people to learn? And how do we develop and give them more autonomy over the learning process so that they can actually figure out what they want to learn, how they want to learn it, and we help them to navigate that process using our expertise, other partnerships, as well as tools and technologies like this. Because there are there are 7, but 4 key ones that we've identified in our learners that they want for the future. One is, we don't know what the jobs of the future will require. We do not know today. And so, young people and other people who are thinking about where their place and their role will be, they want a bigger amount of autonomy to pick and choose, put things together to figure out what they want to be able to do and what they can do, and to give themselves the flexibility. So we have to be able to give them that flexibility. It means that the design of education is going to change. And the role of the educator is also going to change from a guard to a navigator, right? Because all that information is out there. We also have to assume that people will go and look for the information when it's there, where it is, and we have to help them now to decipher what's best and how to put it together. So, a tool like this, which can help lecturers and teachers to create content at lightning speed comparable to what they used to before, using information that's out there already, has a particular drawback. And that is, we have to have conscientious people who could look at the content that it generates and say, this needs to be tweaked, this is not quite correct for our context, this is not exactly what we meant, it didn't understand. So you cannot put it into the hands of people who are just lazy and not doing what they're supposed to do. We have to have this quality assurance oversight and people who are still committed to making sure that the content is very, 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 very clear, specific, and functioning. So that's one. The second thing that young people want is mobility. They want to be anywhere, everywhere, and wherever they need to be and get their work done. And so tools like these allows that to happen. Case in point, we have quite a number of students who are first responders, people in the military, people are doctors, nurses. And we have lecturers as well who are reserve officers and so on. And when, for instance, last year we had the Venezuelan thing when everybody was called in, we had to find a way to deliver and to help them to learn, because their lives cannot be disrupted because we have some crazy person on our border every 5 minutes jumping up, doing something, and then every time that happens, their lives get disrupted. We have to find a way to keep that, keep them at least working when they can, and having accessibility, because that undermines the country's growth as well and development. But even outside of that, people are doing other things outside of a security threat. They want to be wherever they want to be, and they want that mobility. They want to learn as they earn. Big thing. Nobody wants to spend 4, 5, 6 years getting qualified anymore. They want to do it faster, quicker, smarter. So these kinds of tools, in a certain sense, allows a student who with the capability to accelerate, to self-accelerate, while we are assuring ourselves that they are able to master the content in a way that is acceptable to application in the real world, right? So there's so many ways in which this gives, I think, life to those kinds of considerations that as a university we are actively thinking about. And of course the last big one and the controversial one is AI, right, that everybody's afraid of, and we should be very careful with, absolutely. But you can't be afraid of any threat. You have to fundamentally face it and understand it. You don't do that, you're done for. And we can't be training the best brains in this country and in this region to be afraid of anything. We have to train them to be aware of risks and dangers, but to be mentally resilient, to find the answers, to cope with those things. And one way to do that is to introduce it, teach them how to work with those tools responsibly, and teach them how to master and manipulate them for their own purpose. Otherwise, we're not doing the future any justice. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my big context here today. I would like to continuously thank all of those people, including in my own office, my 2 secretaries who were badgered tremendously and stressed over, when we had these legal hurdles to face. DVC Gobin, Berbice campus, where a lot of this will be deployed first in their construction and infrastructure program. So we'll test it with them and all those others in the university, outside of the university, and everywhere else who've been mentioned before, who have helped us to get to this place. There's a lot more to be done, but it's an exciting, historic, wonderful moment. And so with having said that, I'd like to now hand over to the stars of today's event, Shomari and Tyreke, to demo, answer your questions, and afterwards you'll have an opportunity to play with some of the technology and have some refreshments afterwards. Thank you very much, Shomari and Tyreke.
So 10 to 15 years ago, if you would have asked me what I believe the future to look like, I would essentially describe the world we live in today. Cars are driving themselves, and a person that is ignorant to open heart surgery like myself could now essentially go and do this on my mobile phone, which is what we're going to essentially describe to you today. All the people that spoke before me went on about the concept of what we're going to be doing. And I know that you guys are excited because you've been looking to the left and your right and you're seeing these things on screen and you want to know what it is. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about anything. We're going to get straight into the doing. But before that, I have to mention that while the experiences that you're going to look around and see might be simple, we encourage you to think about its utility. We want you to think about how this could apply to military operations, to safety critical systems, and help us build the future of tomorrow, not just the future we live in today. So with that being said, I hand over to Tyreke who's going to show you exactly what we've been talking about for so long. Thank you guys so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to represent our team and demonstrate what this platform can do. First, I want to say this platform is a revolutionary change to the way in which we're going to learn and, yes, in the way in which we're going to learn and actually interact with systems going forward. Let us have a look here at the system. So earlier, the Vice-Chancellor would have spoken about plumbing. Say again? Yes. Sorry. Yes. Earlier, the Vice-Chancellor would have spoken about plumbing and its application. This application now, what it will allow us to do is bring that to you, bring that to your hands, bring that to your mobile phone, to your laptop. You won't now have to go and get all these things. You can sit with all of this in your hands and learn. So here we can have the platform in which we have all of these different objects. These represent parts of a plumbing system. Here we have all of these parts. You can take your time. You can learn. In which here, let's have a look at this one here. You can zoom in. We can get up close and personal with each part. Up close and personal with each part, and as well we can be graded based on what you would have learned from this, right? So let me show you. Let's say we go through. We can now have a quiz based on applications that you would have learned in here. We have a fitting here, and this fitting, after you would have gone through and learned what is it based on it, you can take a quiz to test your knowledge based on what you would have learned in this scenario here. Here we can see, we can get up close and personal with things that you would have never been able to interact with before. And this is just plumbing. Later I'm going to show you something a little more advanced. Right, so let's move to that. We're going to show you something where none of us has probably ever had the chance to look at up close and personal. But today, we're going to be able to take an up close and personal look at a military aircraft, something most of us have never even seen up close and personal, but we're going to look at it, and we're going to look at the different parts, and we're going to do something fun with this aircraft today. So today we're looking at a very impressive aircraft developed by General Electric. It's called the A-10 Warthog. Many of us have never even seen this aircraft before, but today we can go up close and personal and look at all the different parts of this aircraft. The application for the military, our military can train. They can learn things that we don't yet have access to, but we can have that ability to train them based on this platform here. And in the speed in which we can do that, it allows us to quickly deploy many different aspects and many different trainings. We can get up close and personal with each part, something that we have never done. Let's say here, we want to look at this missile. This missile is the AGM-65 Maverick. Many of us have never even seen it, but now we can learn about it through this platform. We can have courses in which we provide information based on what this is. And at the end, we can have quizzes based on everything you would have just learned. This platform, today, we are showing you something that we don't think we have ever done. And we don't think that the university would have ever gotten to do. Right? We can go as far as to even, we can go as far as to even manipulate objects within this aircraft here. So maintenance division can actually take apart this aircraft without ever having to see the real thing. So when they do see the real thing, they would have already been trained and prepared and ready to tackle the task at hand. I will move to one last experience here, in which we're gonna have a closer look at a plumbing system, in which we would have first seen the different parts of a plumbing system in which we can use. We're gonna see those parts put together in a way that now we can see how it is being used. Right, so let's give me one moment here. Yes. So earlier, we would have looked at the different parts, the pipes and fittings, and now here they are in front of us, in which we can look at each part and see how they connect to bring reality to us. So now we have reality at our fingertips here. We can now interact with these objects in a way that we have never done before. Let's say we can take apart this system, this entire plumbing system. We can take it apart, put it together, plan what we're going to do, plan how things are going to be laid out and how they're going to function, saving us a lot of time, we're saving ourselves from a lot of errors that we would have probably made, where we see it in hindsight. But here, we can test it so that we don't have to encounter that issue of hindsight. You might be seeing me using my laptop and you're wondering, so what if I don't have a laptop? Well, we all know technology has grown tremendously, and we can also use it on our mobile device. Let me demonstrate that for you. Right. So here, I would have just moved from my laptop to this mobile phone in which you have on you all the time. Now, you literally have reality at your fingertips. We can do everything we would have just done, and we can get up close and personal with this in a way that we've never done before. This has great implications on the way we do things and the way we consume content. We can have fire drills in which we simulate on here. You can go it over and over and over. You can go it back and back, looking at it, taking the test, making sure that you know what it is you want to do. Some of us, we might find things we're interested in that we would have not known about. So today, I want you all to see the potential of this platform and what we have to offer. And I hope that we all look forward to a bright future with using AI, augmented reality, VR. And I should also mention that these experiences are also available in augmented reality and VR using the headsets if you have those available to you. Right. So this ends my demonstration. Thank you. I'm going to hand you over to Shomari.
So the thing about CS majors is that we focus heavily on the technology in front of us, And sometimes we forget to sell the idea of what's happening. While Tyreke was able to effectively show you what his system is capable of, I want to show you one thing that's pretty cool that I think that he probably missed. When he said to you that we could dismantle this machine that you see in front of us, what he did not show you is that we could effectively dismantle this machine with the click of one single button. And I'm talking about every single part as an individual item. And when you do this now, you could inspect each and every cog, each and every router. And I'm only talking from a place now that I'm educated about this, because 2 days ago before Tyreke, 2 days ago before Tyreke showed me this experience that he built, I could not tell you which aircraft this is. Tyreke went ahead and explained to me that this is not what our military use, but these are the ones that we do use, and he showed me those as well. So the experiences that you have to your left and right of you, we select those specifically because they show individual components of this system. And we want you to think about it in a way that how could we move from these small, simple things with a team of 20, 30, 50 people working on one experience what we could possibly create. To my right, we selected the cross-section of a brain. So now you could essentially perform brain surgery or learn each and every individual part of the brain. There is the plumbing system that Tyreke demoed for you just now. But most importantly, and I think this is one of the more impressive and more practical ones, is a work site. On this work site, you could simulate each and every single error that could happen that could cost the life of someone. How would we test this in the real world? I don't feel as though I would like to be the dummy that they put to test whether this thing could kill me or not. But we could do that with the VR headsets, on your phone, on your computer, and so on. To the back, there's an open heart that basically explains to you how the circulatory system works from the heart's perspective solely, and not every other vein, artery, and all the other things that my CS brain cannot process. To my left, I believe, there's an eye, the watercraft, and more importantly, there is a 360 view of the University of Guyana. This system allows us to also map out in real life and real world context environments that are ahead of you. So when you guys go and check that out, Tyreke himself went ahead with a 360 camera and was able to capture, compile, and put together just a little bit of the walkway of the University of Guyana. What I told him was, if he could get the caiman that resides in that pond to pop out, and we get that, that would help us sell this much faster. To the back, I believe we have another experience I can't really make out right now, but that's for you guys to go and check out. So please, let us close off with all the talking, and y'all could get to go and play around with dismantling the A1 Warthog. Thank you guys for listening so much.
So I have to do this. These are graduates from our University of Guyana's Faculty of Natural Sciences, Computer Sciences Department. It's wonderful, right? So we're proud of them. Thank you. All right. Any questions before you go fiddling? Can they break anything? No, they can't break anything. Wonderful. Nothing. I can't break anything. Just checking, just checking. Does anybody have questions? We have members of the media here. We're really happy that you are here. So let's give them an opportunity, and then UG people after. Anybody from the media has any questions for the two of them? No? Okay. Yes, ma'am? Please give her a mic.
Curious Gonzalez, 19 News. Is there a limit to the usage of the software?
So just like any other software, there are limits. The limits are based on license, but you come directly to the university again, and we'll currently have X amount of license, so we could always talk about distribution of those licenses.
So that's a good point. How do you get to use the system? So you need to tell them.
Right. How do you get to use all the experiences that we would have developed so far? The platform is available to your viewing. You just download it and you go ahead. However, just like you mentioned just now, there are going to be experiences that we keep close to ourselves that you won't have access to, that you need our license to gain access to. So as the VC has been mentioning, there is marketable potential behind the system as well.
Yes, thank you. Very good presentation. So a question I have is, where do you get the data to input to allow a person to use it? So I'm thinking of a scenario. I'm thinking of a military scenario, which I can see it's very applicable. So we have to do patrol from Atrium Bank to Kaikan. And it's always good for the military, for the persons who have to do that patrol, to have full knowledge of the terrain over which they have to travel. In such a situation, how can you get that information for
You see, that's a beautiful question, and I can answer this in two parts. I could talk about the history, and I'm going to talk about where we are today. Before you could do anything CS related, computer science related, you as an expert had to explain to a computer scientist what you were trying to achieve. We break this down into several processes and mathematically put it back together to be able to understand the system as a whole. That's historically. Today, because of how much input this system is able to achieve, we could do this via Word, via video, like I said before, there's a 360 view. So it doesn't necessarily matter where the data comes or whom the data comes from. What is the most important part, and the VC mentioned this as well, is about being able to verify this information, because it now brings in an ethical perspective or ethical question into it. Do we allow any random to come to our system and throw that information in here? That boils down to, this is why Alpha is important to be this university controlled environment, because while you're able to somewhat pay for the license and go ahead and build it yourself, that does not necessarily mean you should be the person that puts together this idea and sell it to other people. So there's a whole other set of processes beside the processes that you see here about tearing apart and putting together. There's pedagogy, there's verification and validation of data. It's a whole system that we're putting together to make sure that every experience that we put together is not just authentic, but it makes complete sense.
To add to that, in terms of where you get the data, in terms of a military application, we can now use all the technologies available to us. We now have 3D scans in which, let's say you have an aircraft you want to train your soldiers on or your pilots. You can now scan that 3D aircraft and place it into the system. Let's say you have an area in which you want to monitor or perform drills. You can use drones to get those 360 images and then place it into the platform in which you can also use to train those soldiers.
I should say there's also another capacity that it does have, so that we can technically take a narrative, a written Word document, and plug it into another aspect of the system, and it would generate a 3D animated experience from just what you write. But here again, you would have to verify, make sure that it's using the right whatever, all the various things. So it's powerful. We haven't demonstrated. It will take a day or two. What we will do in the next couple of weeks, they will show a small groups of people how to go from concept to do some workshops for internally. So people who have to use it will learn how to build it. We're just showing you the top of the line aspects now. Calvin?
Thank you very much. So proud of you guys. Last year, Shomari and I had a conversation about some innovation for, I think it was UG Got Talent, and he told me I shouldn't ask him if it could be done, how long it will take. So I got some questions about how long it will take to do a couple of things. So first year, let me go to one of the first things that came to mind. First year bio, we've been trying to move a first semester course completely online. And one of the earliest labs that they do is about laboratory safety, going into a space, recognizing safety hazards, being able to move around the space. We've been borrowing some stuff from a site right now. They changed the location, we found it back, and we've been using that. But it would be very useful if we could have the lab that's at UG, that the students would ultimately come into, to be part of that experience, for them to be able to work in that space, so that when they come to it, they're in a space that they kind of saw in some way before. and when sort of taking steps towards that. The other thing that I was thinking of is that we don't have a similar experience for field safety. So they don't have the opportunity to kind of step out into the field and do the same kind of observations, because nobody has that. And there's now a relatively small area that the university has priority access to. It's part of the university campus just up the Essequibo River. It would be fantastic to be able to gather images of that area and to be able to integrate that also into that particular experience. So persons, again, can visit and kind of get a feel for what's out there, go through their safety bits to be able to do that. And the last thing I'd say is I've been accessing over the last couple of years some 3D images of things like skulls for mammals or birds or any, there are a couple of museums and so on out there that have been scanning their specimens and putting them out there 3D that I can explore, just as you've been kind of manipulating here. And I wonder about our ability to just integrate that kind of imagery into this space rather than recreating that, integrating it into the space and then building out from that.
Yeah, so I have not heard a single question yet. You described back to me exactly what we've been describing to you. So let me address each and every individual one. So one of the experiences we do have there, as I mentioned before, is a safety system that you described for the, but this is in construction, but we could do it in laboratory very easily, rather, because it's just barring experience. As Dan mentioned, the system has over 365 million models. The same models that you're talking about that you go and borrow here and there, we also have access to them. What is the, I won't say problem, but where we come in is, for you to model a heart, Tyreke and I had this discussion, it would take 6 to 8 months for you to be able to do it. That's to the direct standard of what a real heart is, because it's very, very, very complex. The system, while it does allow you to generate a heart, you still have to spend time getting nitty-gritty to make sure that every single component is where it's supposed to be and works how it's supposed to work. So it is possible, and there is a reduction in time that it takes from 6 months to probably a month to get anatomically accurate heart. So to answer the questions very short, yes, we could do it.
Yes. In relation to the first part, as Shomari would have mentioned, we have an experience there that demonstrates some of the incidents that can happen on a construction site. And in that experience, you're now trained as to what these incidents are and how to avoid them. We can easily port that over to lab safety. We can have scans of the laboratory, which can be imported into the platform, and then we can either have the system quickly generate an experience based on lab safety, or we can have, let's say, a professional in that field from the university add more detail into that. So yes, everything you've asked for, the system is capable and we are capable of doing it.
Thank you. I'm really proud, very fascinated. And as you were talking, I was thinking possibilities. I work in a service unit. In about 4 weeks' time, a staff of 8 will start to prepare about 3,000 people, students for graduation. And to avoid human error, but more efficient, we know what are all the requirements for each program. We know what the students have. We have the data. Can the platform accommodate a quick AI scan and determine 12 out of these 15 students have not satisfied the requirements in 4, 5, 6, or these are the gaps? It removes the 9,000 man-hours over 6 weeks by immediately pointing us without removing the human interaction. That's what I'm curious about. I'm thinking about the possibility.
Let me break down your question into the 2 ways I interpreted it. So firstly, the first thing that you're asking for, in my opinion, is an AI solution, a purely AI solution, where you plug it into a model. The model then goes through your criteria, and then it filters and gives you back answer. This is not what this system does. This system is an education-based system. So the evaluation that you were talking about is built into the system, but purely based solely on the experiences. You're testing the experiences and then filtering out the students that did not fit the requirements based on the experience or the lesson that you're learning. So, no, shortly, the system does not do that in the way. Yes, truly, and SRMS is now building out that capability, right? Yes, it's on its way. Yeah, so as VC mentioned, AI is something that the university has been embracing. I've personally been in meetings where we were talking about not tossing AI out, but teaching students how to use it to the best of its ability in the environment that it's in right now. Because truly, every tool, and this is for anything, every tool is only as good as the person operating it. So you don't neglect a tool because we're scared of it. We embrace what the tool is capable of, and then we teach people how to ethically use it. If that was not the case, none of us would be here driving BMWs and Mercedes, because we would have thrown away the wheel because it was witchcraft back in the day. So it's the same way this works.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Lyndon Lashley. I'm a neurodisability specialist and the director of the Early Childhood Center. My concern is simply this. I heard you spoke about the magnitude of use and benefits for the wider university population, but I have autistic children at the center, and I'm seeing the use of this to cater for their needs, their fixation in certain aspects of learning, like the simple aircraft. And then when the learning environment becomes crowded, becomes noisy, and they get agitated, this can provide a great platform for them to have an ease from the classroom, but still having that learning experience. So do consider that as you roll out other areas. Congratulations.
So let me piggyback on what you were saying just now to add a little bit more detail. This is why introducing Alpha to so many gifted minds is important, because we can only speak from our paradigm. As when Tyreke was explaining to you the system just now, he could only speak from it, or let's not only say that, but he could predominantly speak from it from a CS-related perspective. We understand how impressive it is. When you introduce this to a mechanical engineer, to a neuroscience engineer, to anybody, and the people that operate in the cameras right now probably get their own ideas of what this thing could do right for them themselves. So the more people that we have understanding how the system works, the more efficacy the system itself gets. So while we may not be thinking today about people who are neurodivergent, because you brought it to our attention, we now see the capabilities of it, and therefore we could go ahead and build experiences that are catered to it. However, the system in of itself, somewhat, as you mentioned, does provide a safe space for those types of people because it's individual learning experiences. Right.
Any others? Dr. Cesar, can we give you, do you want to say anything? No?
Mr. Bernard wants another question.
Oh, Mr. Bernard. Oh, sorry. You have two more questions at the back.
Hi guys, I think this is some fantastic work, and as a tech-savvy person myself, I'm really impressed with how integrated this all is. You mentioned the, I think it was the VR. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the VR capabilities that it has, and I was just wondering, what is the scope for that really, because I'm thinking of it in a biology mindset, which is what my background is in, and I'm thinking to piggyback off of Mr. Bernard's point with the field safety and so on. There's one thing to see it and press a button online, but when you're in your field, you mainly depend on your visuals and your auditory. So I was wondering if VR would allow for those capabilities as well as the interactive aspect.
Yes, actually, let's say you have a VR system that gives you the motion controllers or those hand controllers. You can interact with the systems. Let's say you can move the objects around. you can press a button. So it does give you that level of interaction that is higher than just looking at it. Right. You have something to add?
No, Tyreke summed that up very well, because what I was doing in my head was trying to answer your question in the most eloquent way possible. But it's a very, very good opportunity to point out to you how agnostic the system is, because while it is capable of VR integration, if you look at it from a mobile phone, the same capabilities that you have on the VR goggles, you somewhat have it here. To me, the only thing that the VR headset would offer you is that it immerses you in the experience, which in itself is a plus, because you now block out everything that's happening around you and you're heavily focused on the environment that is in front of you, the simulated environment. So there is a plus to it, yeah. And as my friend says, it does help in neurodivergent people, yes.
So,
We already had a mic out there.
all right. So one thing I was thinking of when Bruce spoke, you said you can scan the area, and then have persons kind of walk through and so on. But I wondered if you can add, with the AI, add the ability to kind of near real time. If you're getting a feed, let's say just an infrared scan of the movement of bodies in that space, can you then feed that in actively, as it updates into that space? Or another bit, to add a set of data about risk and so on, or a pattern of movement in the space to create, using the AI bit, scenarios, real scenarios to play out that they can kind of walk through and deal with.
You ask me a question, and I give the same answer to anybody who would ever ask me this question. When asking a CS person a question of, can you do this? Please don't ever do that. Ask us how long it's going to take. Because everything using what we know is either possible today or it's going to be possible tomorrow. So that's the answer to your question. Ask me how long it's going to take, rather.
Given what you said there, I'll still ask my question though, because of what I'm thinking about how this could actually play out. Let me start by saying I had my grandson's piece over my head, and there was this sensation that I was in the activity that was there. So I'm starting there. So I know you can do things, but here's what I'm thinking. In occupational health and safety, we send people on field trips. So, is it possible? And yes, you can do it. So, but I'm thinking now to have that experience for this person now, to feel as if they're going to this thing, lifting this thing, walking through this field, picking up the trash, whatever it is. So, is it possible for that kind of sensation to be generated for the user? I know you could do it, but just tell me.
You're answering your own question, right? So when it comes to the current capabilities of the system in terms of touch and feel, we can't offer that currently. But how I envision things, this is just one simple stepping stone to a future in AR, VR that the university is fully capable of exploring given the resources that we do need to pull this off. So the question still boils down to, don't ask me if I can do it, ask me when I can do it or how long it takes. And furthermore to that, I'll add, with the people with the big pockets in the room right now, ask me what I need to be able to do it, and I'll direct you right to the office of PS where you could leave that donation for us to continue building out these experiences for you.
Yes, it's a good answer, yes, but at the same time, I'm thinking that for those of us who perhaps want to be a part of that, so not just coming to the computer side, so can I sit in front there, go grab these different things and compose something for myself or for my class?
Yes, as I said before, I think we started off the presentation with saying that it is possible, but what we have to work on is a set of procedures that guides the way it is done, because so much could go wrong by teaching the wrong person the right thing. So I don't know how better to phrase that. other than what I just said, but it's all about being able to set procedures in place so that no mistake is made. Because the last thing we want you to do is put the left ventricle on the right side of a heart and then go and teach somebody that that's the right way to do things. So you could put together the parts, yes. However, there must be guidelines that are in place to be able to do so.
So any other burning questions, colleagues? So one of the things, this is just a launch. We have, over the next few weeks, internally in the university, and for those specially invited agencies that we brought in this morning from military, etc., we will be having small workshops, maybe 6 to 8 people at a time, so they could show you how to build your own class, your own experiences, your own courses, etc. So we'll be sending out a note with a form, a doodle calendar for you to fill up to say, this is when I want to come to spend these 2 hours really going through this, how it's done. Right? So Dr. Murray, we know that you were already part of that on that list for the other project that you were doing. So we'll send this out to people. So this was just to kind of to link the capability. Now we did get some VR headsets, and our 2 scholars here did not think that they had the high efficacy, so we decided not to bring them. They came with the system, but they didn't, when they tested them, they didn't like them. So yesterday they said, we're not going to give people these. We're going to buy some other ones that have better capability. But we'd already set the launch up, so we couldn't get those in time. So anything else on that you want to say? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So now, how is this going to work? How are they going to get to...
So how I think this should go is I'll take the right side and Tyreke will take the left side. We're just going to leave you to figure it out, because one of the things we want to see for ourselves is how intuitive the system itself is as well. But we'll be right there to guide you regardless of what happens in the system. So y'all could just...
So we have everybody, how much time everybody has on the system. We have 8 systems, we have 50 people in the room. So how's that working out?
Real sick. Doing maths right now might be the
8 5 40.
Right, so each experience doesn't take more than 2 minutes for you to get
so
acquainted with it, yeah?
Okay, so you bring your chair up, bring over a chair and start, and those who get there first could get there first, and then we take it from there. So we're going to close the session formally now. So you go into workshop session. Thank you all very much for coming. Anybody who has any comments or questions about this, please reach out to the Tactical Online Services Unit, or PACE, or ACE email that will be sent, not ACE, Alpha email that is going to be sent around. If you have any special use you're interested in, just ask them. And thank you very much. There's some small refreshments at the back if you don't want to stay and play. Thank you. Goodbye. God bless.